Recently, we took a deep dive into the Xbox 360's infamous Nico intercooler. If you missed that one, it was a bulky third-party cooling device designed to save your console from the dreaded red ring of death. But it didn't do that, did it? It did the exact opposite. By leaching power directly from the console's main power supply, it actually accelerated the console's demise, literally melting its own plastic, fusing itself to the back of your 360, and transforming a perfectly good console into a very expensive brick. But the intercooler was a device that killed your console. Today, we're looking at devices that did the opposite. Today, we're looking at 3 specific devices released for the Xbox 360 that literally do not work anymore. We're talking about third-party hardware that was bricked by the console itself. And let me be clear, we're not talking about devices that break over time because they were terribly made. Well, actually, some of them were terribly made. But that's beside the point. Thanks to mandatory updates that you had to install if you wanted to continue claiming you nailed your mate's mum in Modern Warfare, these devices became completely useless shortly after they were released, forcing you to, well, just throw them away. Plus, as a special bonus for this episode, we have one more entry, a premium and official first-party Microsoft peripheral that ended up being so dangerous that it needed a mandatory update just to ensure that it wouldn't literally burn your house down. But we'll save that one for last. So grab your dusty vision cameras and your plastic instruments as we take a look into the 360 Dead Plastic Club, as we look at the first entry, which was actually designed to help gamers. That was until Microsoft put a stop to that.
But before we go ahead, enter today's sponsor, Heroes of History. Heroes of History is a brand new city building and strategy game where you get to collect real-life historical and mythological figures. We're talking about everyone from Napoleon and Jane Austen to Spartacus and even Tesla. The core of the game is building up your own civilization from scratch whilst managing resources and research, but what I've genuinely been enjoying is the combat. It's easy to pick up, but has a hard-to-master strategic layer to it. You've got over 120 playable heroes to unlock from the hero portal, each with unique visuals and abilities. You actually have to think about your lineup, putting your melee damage dealers up front to take the hits and keeping your healers safely in the back line. It perfectly balances that pick up and play gameplay style with some actual real-time progression. And best of all, you can play this on your mobile or on your PC without any downloads, which is a big win for me. Right now is the absolute best time to jump in, because until the end of July, they are running their massive first season event, The Great Odyssey. You get to help Odysseus take down the sea monster Skylar in a brand new boss fight, featuring some of the game's toughest endgame mechanics. Plus, there are limited time heroes to grab, including Penelope and Menelaus. Here's the real kicker: if you do log in and join the Great Odyssey event and then keep logging in consecutively for 7 days, you will be able to unlock the very limited 5-star rated hero called Odysseus, but if you don't do it quick enough, that character will be gone forever, so you really don't want to miss out. In order to take on Skylar, you are going to need resources, so scan the QR codes that you see on the screen or click my personal link in the description to get a massive starter boost featuring 10 antimatters, 2000 XP and 20,000 food. Once you're in, just tap menu, then profile, hit the settings and click redeem promo code to claim your loot. Keep in mind, the promo code is only valid for new players for the first 7 days, so make sure you get on it. A massive thanks to Heroes of History for sponsoring the channel. But for now, let's get back to the video.
Nowadays, it's quite easy to forget just how painful it was when you didn't have a memory card. Before the CD era, saving your games was something that just happened. Cartridges that needed this had internal batteries, and life was good. But ever since the PlayStation 1 era, where games got bigger and you needed to save your progress on external cards, out of the box, console makers didn't actually give you the ability to do so. It's actually quite insane when you think about it that out of the box you couldn't save your games. If you wanted that feature, you had to pay for it separately. And because they offered absolutely pathetic amounts of space, you were forced to buy multiple cards, constantly delete old saves, or just leave your console running for 3 days straight, hoping that a power cut wouldn't turn it off. In those early days, some people never progressed past the first few hours of a game. I mean, I remember this happening to me specifically when I got my PlayStation 2. They just sold out everywhere, so for a couple of weeks, I couldn't progress in Tekken Tag Tournament. But thankfully, when the original Xbox joined the world of home console gaming, this problem was a thing of the past. Both the OG Xbox and the premium versions of the Xbox 360 gave you the ability to save your progress right onto the system's very own internal hard drive, just like you could on a PC. But there was a catch. As the Xbox Live Arcade became more popular and downloadable games became a massive deal, that chunky plastic hard drive strapped to the top of your console filled up mighty fast. And if you bought the cheaper Xbox 360 Core or Arcade models, you didn't even get the hard drive to begin with. Yeah, that's another thing that people forget about. At the launch of the Xbox 360, there was a no hard drive option called the Xbox Live Arcade model, which didn't come with a hard drive but did come with a 256 megabyte memory card. Ooh, lucky you. Oh yes, the official Xbox 360 memory unit. A little plastic slab that offered a staggering 64 megabytes of storage on the low end, which cost a whopping $40 when the console launched in 2005. But thankfully, just like the PlayStation before it, third-party manufacturers stepped in to help save our wallets. Leading the charge was Datel, a company famous for the action replay cheat devices, who released the Datel Max Memory in May of 2009. These things were absolute lifesavers. Instead of paying highway robbery prices for 64 measly megabytes, the Max Memory, which was around the same price, utilised micro SD technology, which meant you could instantly have 2GB, 4GB, or even 16GB of extra storage for a fraction of Microsoft's asking price. They were a high capacity, budget friendly dream for the gamer on a budget. Well, for 5 months at least. As of October 23rd, 2009, Microsoft rolled out Dashboard Update 2.0.8955.0. On the surface, this was an exciting update as it was the big social media patch that finally brought in Facebook, Twitter and Last.fm directly to your TV. But hidden deep within the code was a targeted security patch with one singular goal: to assassinate unauthorized third-party memory cards. Now, Microsoft claimed that the reason they did this was actually to crack down on illegitimate people that would download fake save files to boost up their gamer scores. And hey, you know what? That may be true to some degree, but it still didn't take away from the fact that they just completely killed landfills worth of cheap memory cards. And worst of all, there was no warning that this would happen. You just woke up one day to discover that you couldn't move the data. You couldn't copy the data. Your saves were completely trapped on a device that wasn't readable by the console that it was designed for. Datel actually sued Microsoft over this, claiming that it was an illegal antitrust move designed purely to force gamers into buying overpriced first-party accessories. But did they win? Well, it's best we talk about that in the very next section because Datel tried their luck again. So, did Datel win that massive antitrust lawsuit that came in from Microsoft over some memory cards? Well, the two companies eventually settled out of court in early 2012. The exact terms were kept confidential, but for gamers, it didn't matter. Those dead memory cards that they had just purchased stayed dead. Yeah, the reason Datel didn't slam dunk Microsoft with this court case was because of what they did next. For this segment, let's talk about Xbox 360's wireless controllers. If you remember the Xbox 360 era, you may recall that almost every third-party controller that you could buy was wired. It was almost guaranteed that if you did buy a cheap Player 2 controller, it came with a 10-foot breakaway cable. Why? because unlike Sony and Nintendo, who use standard Bluetooth for the PlayStation 3 and Wii, Microsoft used a highly secure proprietary wireless protocol for the Xbox 360. If a third-party company wanted to make a wireless controller, they either had to pay an extortionate licensing fee to Microsoft, or again, release a wired one. But that wasn't good enough for Datel, who were obviously butthurt over Microsoft trying to sue them, so they went for option 3. Just reverse engineering the wireless technology. In late 2009, Datel released the TurboFire, and later the Wildfire wireless controllers. These things were genuinely groundbreaking for the budget market. They connected directly to the Xbox 360 natively, completely dongle free, syncing up exactly like an official first-party controller. On top of that, they were highly programmable. You could plug them into your PC via USB and literally download custom button mapping profiles to cheat in games like Halo or Call of Duty. Yeah, weirdly, Microsoft were not fans. Having just murdered Datel's memory cards via a stealth dashboard update, Microsoft decided that a software patch wasn't enough this time. They went full legal. In April 2010, Microsoft retaliated by slamming Datel with a massive lawsuit. Accusing the British company of blatantly infringing on their patents, Microsoft claimed that the TurboFire simply wouldn't exist without illegal reverse engineering. This was a corporate death blow. Whilst the lawsuit raged on, Datel was forced to halt the import and sale of their wireless controllers, and by the time the dust settled and the lawsuits were quietly resolved in 2012, Datel had entirely redesigned their hardware and ceased production of the native wireless TurboFire controllers. The tragedy here is that the TurboFire controllers were actually pretty impressive pieces of kit. But because they existed in a legal grey area and relied on proprietary PC software for their best features, finding one today is completely pointless. The customizer servers are obviously long dead, the software is practically lost media, and the controllers themselves remain a relic of a brief, aggressive war between Microsoft and Datel. Right, let's move away from corporate lawsuits, for now, and instead look at a peripheral that wasn't destroyed because of malice, but instead complete software neglect. At the absolute peak of the Guitar Hero and Rock Band craze, our living rooms were overflowing with cheap plastic instruments. Everybody had a fake plastic guitar covered in flame stickers. But in 2010, a developer called 745 Studios decided that plastic buttons were for babies, which was when they launched a rhythm game called Power Gig Rise of the SixString and packaged it with a genuine, fully playable electric guitar. Oh yes, this wasn't a toy, it had real steel strings, it had real tuning pegs. You could literally take a standard 1/4-inch cable, plug it into a real guitar amp and play actual music. But more importantly, when you plugged this bad boy into an Xbox, it became a game controller, and it was designed for people out there that played Guitar Hero and Rock Band, but wanted to take the next step. Instead of 5 colourful plastic buttons, the neck of the guitar used highly complex internal sensor boards. When you pressed down on the physical steel strings, they would make contact with the metal frets. The guitar would then register exactly what strings were touching which frets and transmit that information as custom USB and MIDI data signals directly back to the console. It was ambitious, it was heavy, it was honestly a logistical nightmare to actually play. But it did work. Well, considering it's in this video, it didn't work for very long. The game was absolutely panned. Not only did it cost more than a new beginner's electric guitar, but it technically played just like Rock Band. In fact, you could play this game with a Rock Band controller. What seems like the more advanced option actually turned out to be the simplest, and nobody wanted it. Anyway, reviews aside, sometime later, Xbox 360 did yet another innocent software update. But once again, buried in the back of this innocent update was a subtle change to how the console's operating system processed external USB and MIDI driver inputs. Suddenly, players booting up Power Gig were hit with a fatal on-screen error message. You are not using a Power Gig SixString guitar controller. Certain features such as power chord mode will not be available. Yes, this Xbox 360 dashboard update completely removed the console's ability to read this more advanced guitar's fret touch signals. Now, normally when a console update accidentally breaks a specific piece of third-party hardware, the developer just releases a quick firmware patch to fix the communication error. But there was a massive problem here because Power Gig was a colossal commercial flop. 745 Studios practically vanished into bankruptcy immediately after the game was launched. There was nobody left in the office to write the patch. There was no tech support team. The developer had effectively ceased to exist. Because of that, the SixString was completely abandoned. The Xbox 360 had permanently unlearned how to read the guitar's most important feature, and there was absolutely no one around to teach it again. Today, if you manage to track down one of these premium guitars and plug it into a modern, updated Xbox 360, the advanced string sensing technology that was the entire selling point of the peripheral simply does not work, unless you happen to own a launch-era Xbox 360 console that has somehow been kept offline with a dashboard that still looks like this. This incredibly ambitious piece of hardware is now just a heavy, unplayable brick. But don't worry, it is still a real guitar. So you can still plug it into an amp, be in a band, and look like the coolest member of the group. So far, we've looked at third-party accessories that were either maliciously murdered by Microsoft or abandoned by their creators. But for our grand finale, we're going to look at a premium first-party peripheral that had to be updated because, well, otherwise, it might burn your house down. When the Xbox 360 wireless racing wheel launched in late 2006, it was pitched as the ultimate way to experience the then upcoming Forza Motorsport 2. It was a seriously heavy-duty piece of kit featuring premium force feedback, steering that let you feel every single bump, crash and loss of traction on the track. Because of how much juice it took to run those heavy-duty resistance motors, standard AA batteries just simply wouldn't cut it. To get the force feedback to actually work, you had to plug the wheel directly into a wall outlet. And there lies the problem. Under intense gameplay load, a component in the internal power release circuit would overheat, melt the plastic casing and emit thick toxic chemical smoke. It was bad enough that Microsoft was forced to issue a massive mandatory recall in August of 2007, affecting over 230,000 units worldwide. Yes, I'm not exaggerating, in some cases these things actually smoked. And this is how Microsoft fixed the issue. The plan wasn't to recall the wheels and then send gamers newly manufactured safe replacements, but instead they just mailed out a cheap inline safety release fuse cable that you were supposed to attach to the power supply. And on top of this, it is also rumoured that Microsoft also deployed a silent console update that heavily throttled the voltage and torque limits of the wheel's force feedback motors, which obviously altered how the console interacted with the hardware in order to stop it from drawing too much power. Because of that rumoured stealth update, if you take one of those recalled wheels today and plug it into a fully updated Xbox 360, the premium high torque resistance that you originally paid top dollar for is permanently weak and muted. The hardware still, technically functions, but its defining feature was permanently watered down by the console itself, all just to stop this thing from setting fire to your living room, which I suppose is probably a good thing. Hey there guys, thanks for checking out the video. This is the part of the video where I give a massive shout out to all of these names that you see down there. All of these people that allow me to make these videos every week, and all of these people that are soon going to be getting 8 videos ahead. Yes, I am working on a massive collaboration effort with 8 other YouTubers, and I've already started collecting together segments for these videos, and these people down here are the ones that are going to be able to see that as they're made, each section as they're made, but also obviously the final product before it comes out, and it is all to promote that Kickstarter that you saw teased in this video. Yes, it is go time on the promotion for this upcoming Kickstarter, guys, and I am excited for its eventual launch. But anyway, this is the part of the video where I give a massive shout out to all of these people and every single person out there that were willing to support the show and allow me to make these videos every week, like I said, with an extra big shout out going to Akatimo84, Andrea, Andrew Dalton, Bram Perez, British Video Game Nerd, Carol Ann Stephen, Caesar D'Souza, Chevmatic, Chris aka Brackman. I hope I'm saying that, by the way. Caesar D'Souza. Let me know. Send me a DM if I'm saying that right. Thank you very much for your support. Where was I? Chevmatic, Chris aka Brackman, Conrad Constantine, Action Saxon, Dina81, Derakuda, Enraged Gecko, Ian Qual, Insidious Bliss, Jay is Manchild, Jabba Al Aiden, Jeff Mianowski, Keiju Samurai 1985, Kumatura Villarreal, Livestream, where are we? I've lost it. Livestream, Mass Replay, Mind of the Unsane, Nick Bertner, Patrick Grip Jansen, Paul Float, Richard Alderdick, Shadow Dragon, Stephen Hefner, Swift Justice Peterson, 6 Sense Media, The Sneaky Ferret, Thomas Coty Baxter, Vitus Varnes, Vike Echo, XZX, and Ye Old Hamburglar. Thank you guys so much for all of your support. But until next time, this is DJ Slope signing out, and hopefully I'll see you all next time. Bye bye.